Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another episode of our Let's Play of the pre-release version of Sid Meier's Civilization 6. This is from the New York pre-release event, and we are closing in on the end of things over here. We've got 3 more episodes left to go, and there's going to be mostly a lot of unit shuffling here. We finished our war against Egypt, we've taken Nekin, but really the true prize is on the other side of these mountains. Nekin, we knew was going to be an incredibly difficult fight because of the terrain, and for not much of a prize, to be honest. It's only a size 2 population city. But the important thing is it means that now we can position our units in a place where we can attack the Egyptian capital and all their juicy, juicy wonders. Building a harbor district over there. Good money right from the start with it, plus the benefits to build ships. It does also give us the extra trade route. I mean, it's not completed yet, but when it does complete, it will give us an extra trade route as well, which is really wonderful because you get a lot of dough out of those bad boys. We got another promotion available here with our Scout, which is great because we're going to need it for the healing, if nothing else, between turns over here as we take a redonkulous amount of damage from, I suspect, a double attack here. By the way, one apparently a cool thing with the barbarian encampments here is if a barbarian encampment spawns near horses, which is the case over here, they will spawn mounted units, and apparently that makes them substantially more dangerous because the mounted units just roam around like crazy. They pillage things, they can snipe your units when you least expect it. But I love that concept that the barbarian encampments get flavored effectively based on what they're near. As far as I know, it's basically just whether there's horses or not, or if it's coastal or not, because they can put out ships. Now, we don't see, as far as I know, we don't see any of that in this particular playthrough, but in my first pre-release playthrough a couple of months ago, which was limited to 60 turns, I was harassed endlessly by seafaring barbarians. They were a real pain in the butt, which was fantastic. I mean, it's great to see that extra level of difficulty. So we're going to go and put down another harbor district over here. Mostly, I think at this point, I'm putting them out because I want the extra trade routes. Because I'm like, holy crap, yeah, money's really good. Let's try to get as many of these as possible. And in fact, well, I was going to say, in fact, it's one of these things that I should have done earlier. But you kind of want to do all the things, right? If I'd built the sea districts earlier and the associated caravans, then that would have meant not getting something else. And then I'd be saying, oh, I wish I'd gotten this other thing sooner. You want all the things, and it's hard to get all the things. We're picking a new destination over here. I'm going to be sending it over to Nekin for the purpose of building a road. And again, if you want to, after the caravan has finished its first trip to its destination and therefore built the road, it does wander back and forth for, I don't know, 30 turns or whatever it is, but you could cancel at that point for the purpose of sending it somewhere else to quickly build some roads as well. And in fact, that's really what I should do with that trade route, because that internal trade route's not particularly valuable. It was doing, what, like 1 food and 1 hammer? Something like that. Only to the originating city as well. I don't think Nekin was getting any bonus from it. We can get a sense, though, this map is, I mean, again, I loaded up a continents map over here. So in theory, there's another continent somewhere. France is trading with Brazil. It is nice to get that information, though, because we sent a delegate over there. It's like, okay, they're interacting. I mean, I don't think the fact that they're trading affects my decisions, but it's nice to be getting some news of some kind, especially if people start going to war, doing something like that. What's that, whales over there? No, fish. Fish dies. Stone. There's a stone we needed for Stonehenge. As people have commented in the in the comments, when I was complaining that, oh, I wasn't allowed to build Stonehenge because I didn't have stone, I said, well, that's funny because Stonehenge actually was built like 150 miles away from its quarry, which I guess was in Wales, I think, the actual quarry. So definitely not close, but, you know, it still means that these guys had access to stone in some way. We have no access to stone anywhere in our empire. We also don't have access to iron. Remember, we fought that entire war with no ability to build swordsmen at any point because we have no iron. We could have had substantially stronger melee units a lot sooner than we do. And actually, we can't build our knights or our horsemen either. So we are really got screwed. We got a really bad roll of the dice with this start. And in hindsight, part of me really does wish that we had re-rolled. But on the other hand, it meant that this Prince difficulty game has actually been kind of interesting and challenging to play, especially with the military idea. Well, with every idea. We can't get any science because we had no good terrain for our campuses. We can't get any good military units, not to mention we don't get the attached, hello, no, we're totally just passing by. Or I think this time I'm just going to ignore the request. Be like, I'm not even acknowledging her. Yeah, so no good military units, no good science, no good production from having mines and iron. Really kind of a rough situation, but we're making the best out of it. And so my goal before this this particular play session runs its course is indeed to conquer the Egyptian capital at the least, and hopefully even a little bit more than that. So apparently, changing governments. So, first of all, you can spend gold there so that I can change my government again. But some people have asked, can you change your government back and forth? Is there a penalty to doing so? Well, apparently, changing government once, which I've done. I moved from classical republic to autocracy. That's fine. Your people are like, yeah, okay, that's progress. Government changes, that's fine. But apparently, if you change back to a previous government, so if I'd gone back from autocracy to classical republic, that would have led to civil uprisings and rebellion and general unhappiness, because they see that as a backward move or a lot of conflict and chaos in the government, as opposed to just a natural evolution, perhaps, of your civilization, which is really interesting, actually. So you have some flexibility in changing your government. It's too bad that the tiles here reach the mountain, because otherwise we'd be able to skirt around and get to the capital a lot easier. But yeah, so you get some amount of flexibility with changing your government, but not unlimited flexibility. You can't toggle back and forth, which I think is a great sort of middle ground decision there. So you've got the ability to change it, so you can tune things to events that change, but not too much. And it's probably a lot handier. Like in Civ 4, you had the great ability to change your government and religion, like different types like that, and customize your government in actually a pretty great way. I really still love the system in Civ 4 quite a bit. And to me, the government system in Civ 6, the ability to choose a government type combined with those cards, is like the Civ 4 system on crack, right? Like a really upgraded version of that. And so, but in Civ 4, unless you were spiritual Civ, you always got, anarchy, a period of anarchy when you were changing your government around. And that wasn't necessarily fun. Whereas this, I think, is great, because it lets you have fun, because you can make that change without a real penalty, but only so much. And then after that, it's like, if you really want to do it, you realize you're going to have to go through a little bit of a period of unfun. Well, actually, I don't know what exactly the punishment is or how it works when you shuffle your government back and forth, but there's going to be, it's either a period of anarchy or unrest or lowered productivity for a while or something of that nature. So it might actually be the sort of disaster that is fun, or it might be the sort of penalties that just make things slower and unfun for a little while. In Civ 4, all your cities had anarchy for X number of turns, depending on game length and how aggressive a government change it was, but it meant you literally couldn't build anything for like the next 1 to 4 turns or something, and that to me is a bit unfun. So we'll see what it's like in here. I didn't get a chance to test it. I just know that there's something to avoid you to wiggle back and forth between government picks. Changing your civics back and forth is fine, although you can only do it for free when you unlock a new civic, like a new social policy, like technology, cultural technology, or if you pay gold for it. So there's limitations there, but other than that, it's fine to go back and forth between different policy picks as you go forward. Checking my city-states with the envoys. As far as I know, you can't take the envoy away once it's been assigned, but there might be other ways of doing it. Hey, I could start building the pyramids. Gets you a free builder. Oh, and there you go. All builders have +1 use. Excellent. So there you go. It's the pyramids that do it. And I still think that there might be a civilization that gives you +1 use on a builder. I might be imagining that. I'm not sure. Does China have it? Does China have +1 use on their builder? I think that might be true. And so I think with China, you de-emphasize the pyramids probably, because with China, that would only be 25% more uses as opposed to 33% more uses, although it's still a big amount. It means over the course of the game, you can probably build 2 or 3 fewer builders, maybe even more so, I'm not sure. But even if it's only 2 or 3 builders, that's, depending on what phase in the game or whatever, that represents something like somewhere between 10 to 40 turns less production spent building builders, which is actually really, really, really significant, when you consider it that way. And so it comes down to what's the cost of building the pyramids, what other benefits, because you did get other benefits from the pyramids. You got the free builder, for example. So building the pyramid actually seems really strong. I really like that wonder. I bet she's going to be competed with a lot. So at some point I was like, did I lose a trade route? I don't think I did. I think there's just a unit that's waiting for a new trade route command, is why it says 1 of 2. But there was like, I don't remember seeing a message for it. Oh yes, we unlock monarchy here, a new type of government, as well as the chivalry pick, but I definitely want to go to monarchy. Look at that. 6 slots for policy cards. +2 housing for units with, or cities with, I think, walls. I clicked away from it a little bit too fast, which is fine. I guess that's okay. But for me, it's like about getting the extra cards here. I'm like, what the hell do I spend it on? Oh, a bonus to production of medieval and Renaissance units. That sounds pretty handy. Well, heavy and light cavalry units. But still, it was like, maybe I'll get some horses one day. No. Spoiler alert, I'm never going to get horses because that would be way too convenient. A game of Civilization where you actually get resources that you want, that'll never happen. It's like, oh, we've got, we're playing on an island map. It's going to be great when we get good ships. Oh, no coal, no oil. No. Well, maybe we can nuke our way to victory. Oh, no uranium. Russia's got all the uranium because reasons. I mean, I know that doesn't always happen, but it's like you don't notice every time you get to an intersection and the light's green. But you notice and remember if you hit a string of red lights. You're like, oh god, I always hit the red lights. And that's exactly what happens. It's that sort of like negative confirmation bias that happens in, well, every aspect of human life. But we're really bad at it at gaming, We'll remember all the times we lost that 50-50 coin toss. Or XCOM's a good example of that. Like, we remember all the times that we missed with our 60 or 70% shot, but we don't really pay attention to the times when we hit when we only had a 30% chance and realize that it works the same way. That's why I actually like the stat tracking mods for XCOM, because afterwards you can actually find out if you're actually getting screwed by the dice roll or not. And of course, over the long run, you don't. Your averages do work out to exactly where they're supposed to be, but that's one of the reasons so many people are quite bad at poker. They remember things kind of off and inaccurately, and it causes them to play in an unoptimal fashion where you should just play with a sort of like completely impassive mathematical aspect to it. So poker, yeah. See, we went from Civilization to poker. Discussion goes all over. Do you know why? Because I'm not playing. I'm just watching myself play in the past, and so I'm not getting to talk about like, what I'm thinking about for the decisions and what I'm planning. I mean, I'm just going through and trying to produce some new units here. Am I actually hovering over the coast, or am I just thinking? I think I was just thinking there. So our units are pretty good in position. We could probably, I'm like, hey, I wonder when the peace treaty runs out. Oh. Okay, so I denounced her just for fun. But more importantly, declare a surprise war. Warmonger penalty, heavy. I don't know. Again, things might change. This might be just part of the current build that I'm in. But it would kind of be cool if this is actually part of the game. I can't decide if it's like, do I really want this to be in the game or not? I mean, I want it from my point of view, but could you imagine you finish a war with the computer, and then you have a peace treaty, and they break the peace treaty to do a surprise war. I'm betting the AI is very unlikely to want the heavy warmonger penalty. They'll probably be designed to very rarely, if ever, break a peace treaty. But the ability for a human to do it, great. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to do this in a real game. Heavy warmonger penalty, everyone else is going to hate me forever. But I knew that we were nearing the end of my playtime. So I'm like, there's not going to be any repercussions to this. No one's going to be able to punish me for this. Because the game's just going to end before the diplomatic repercussions really start to become an issue. So I'm like, all right, let's go for it. We're going to take the Egyptian capital. It's much larger, but it still only has a strength of 26. But that, I believe, is with no units in there. There is actually, that's a great scientist unit sitting in there. The great scientists, I will discover very soon, were not enabled. Their functionality were not enabled in this build, which is the reason that great scientists just sitting there in the Egyptian capital. And in fact, spoiler alert, I'm going to capture it. I'm going to capture that great scientist, and I'm going to run around with him for a little while and be like, why doesn't he do anything? And yeah, he was not enabled. Actually, I think if I built a great scientist, and actually I think we may see this later on, I think my great scientist would work, but the captured one, I wasn't able to do with it. It's possible the great scientist just spawned and Egypt wasn't able to deploy him somewhere. Great scientists, well, I think they can do more than one thing, the great people, but they can build a like a custom improvement or district, and it's like, I don't know, like a super campus or something like that. And so she probably wanted to deploy it by the mountains and may not have had that option, especially now with war being declared. So we can see one Egyptian chariot pop over there by Akhetaten. Mostly I'm trying to squeeze my units past there. I'm not planning on attacking Akhetaten. I'm trying to move a critical massive unit by the capital of Raqadet. And that's, I mean, we basically have it there. The terrain is much, much more favorable. Less of a bottleneck, fewer hills. We've got more units already in position. I mean, we got to declare war this time instead of waiting for her to declare war. Oh, I still didn't quite read the whole description there, but you guys can pause what those units do. But Better roads are in place. What am I going to go with next? Industrial zone, workshop. Workshop's quite cool, actually. Medieval walls, so you get even more defensive bonuses from there. So we're going to go for apprenticeship, which could be rushed if we built 3 mines, which we haven't done. But that's something else. Like, I haven't really been aggressive with builders, but knowing that building 3 mines. In fact, I'm halfway through apprenticeship. I don't know what I got credit for before. Or did I already get it for 3 mines? I don't think so. The arrow is lit up, though. Maybe I did get the apprenticeship Eureka at some point from building 3 mines. I don't remember building that many, but it must have happened. I mean, that's the only possible explanation. Because I don't think things have 2 Eurekas here, so yeah, all right. Did I really build 3 mines? Well, I built one out of the copper. That's for sure. Did I just build some mines on some hills even though there were no resources? It's certainly possible. That's the problem. I played this game like a week ago. Took me, because I came home, then it was a holiday in Canada, so I was out of the house for a couple of days, and so this is me recording a week later and not really remembering all the steps that we did, which is unfortunate. We've got some pillage commands there. Commando, I love that. Look at that. Commando can scale cliff walls. This is super relevant because, and actually, I hadn't realized until I saw this promotion, I had not realized that by default, units cannot embark or disembark from the ocean where there's a cliff. This is actually what taught me that. Or I don't know, maybe we discovered it already with the scout, I'm not sure. But yeah, cliffs block your ability to embark and disembark, which means that a city built along the cliff is immune from amphibious assault, which is crazy cool. But the commando promotion, I don't know if that's going to be useful or not, but I love the fact that it exists. It adds an extra interesting choice. Maybe you'll have, depending on the map and your plans, maybe you'll want a crack team of 1 or 2 commando units. That's entirely possible. So my scout's just still looking around, seeing what he can see. Can't embark in ocean tiles yet. We've got, what is that, James St. George? Was that what the great scientist was over there? Just assaulting the Egyptian capital. Taking a fair bit of damage from the bombardment from the city, but that's okay. Actually, we're taking a little bit of damage from the city to the south as well, but hardly critical amounts. And here we're going to be denounced. Of course, everyone's going to hate me. Yeah, they think you're a warmonger. I did surprise declare on someone I had a peace treaty with, so that's pretty legitimate. I can't argue that she's wrong there. It was a pretty despicable move, but I regret nothing. I'm on the time limit, and I want the Egyptian capital. And honestly, you know, low science rate be damned. I'm feeling pretty confident that I could probably take all of the AI at its difficulty setting on my continent and just control the whole thing. Although playing as England, what I really want is to find another continent and invade there, because my units get a boost when fighting on a place that's not my continent. And apparently, the ambition of the AI England, Victoria as an AI, is she wants to have a city on every continent and will in fact get mad at you if you are... I think she hates anyone who's not on her continent. I don't think it's even about expanding to a different continent. I think it's if you're someone on another continent, she just sees you as, well, you know, like a primitive, someone to be colonized, for example. Not someone who can control their own land. That would be wrong. So that's sort of British imperialism. And yes, I realize that Victoria was the queen of the UK and not England. Some people are upset about that, and you know, I guess, sure, I can see where you're coming from. But I think it's because England has always been the civ in civilization, right? It's always been an England civilization, and they just happened to pick a leader. Well, that's happened before. We've had Winston Churchill as one of the leaders in, I want to say Civ 4, I think. And so, you know, obviously he was not the he was you know, the leader of the UK, but that's where it comes from. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. I mean, when you have the United States, maybe you could also have the United Kingdom. Maybe you could have both. Maybe you should limit yourself to the rulers that only ruled England by themselves. But, I mean, the UK's been around for a long time. There's been a lot of really interesting rulers since then, and they make pretty good figureheads for that. So, I don't know. I don't know what the right decision is there. You only pick older rulers, or you only stay with the UK? Not something I can answer, but we are going to continue to march forward on the Egyptian capital, but the actual conquest of it will have to wait until the next video. Thank you very much for watching another episode, folks, and I'll see you guys next time.